Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Elevating Your Life. I am so thrilled to share with you an amazing woman, and she is an author of multiple books. We have with us today Dr. Donna Marks. She has been a licensed psychotherapist and addictions counselor in Palm Beach, Florida for over 30 years. In 1989, Dr. Marks developed a chemical dependency training program at Palm Beach Community College, which has grown into a 4-year degree, and she received the Florida Governor's Council Award. So fantastic. She is also a certified gestalt therapist, psychoanalyst, hypnotist, sex therapist, and teaches a course in miracles. Love the miracles, along with sharing her methods with hundreds of thousands of listeners on podcasts and radio shows. And today we're going to be talking about her latest book, The Healing Moment, 7 Paths to Turn Messes into Miracles of Love. First off, thank you, Donna. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, I'm just honored and
a real treat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your book is so fantastic. So many great messages. Well, I would love to start off if you would like to share a little more of your background and maybe kind of what put you to where you're at today and, a little more history.
Well, I was born into a family where there was addiction and there was also spirituality. So I think I became both, which would make sense, right? My life was pretty wayward. I had a lot of pain in my life until I understood why things happened and was able to turn the mess of my childhood and the mess that I made of my life and even, affected my children. When I was able to turn that into self-love and loving others and the miracle of that. And then I spent a lot of time in self-help and therapy myself. I believe that there's a lot of unhealed healers. And I was very committed to healing myself, which I feel so grateful that I am today. Not perfect, of course, but healed, definitely. And it's a beautiful thing. I believe in people. I've worked with thousands and thousands of people who have needed those kinds of transformations. And I do work in mental health and addiction. And I think I draw from all of my life experiences because just about everybody that comes in here, I've been on that side of the fence. So I do understand and I have compassion. And so it was through my life journey and my life process that I wrote this recent book, The Healing Moment, which is that point in time where the light bulb goes off. And I've had a lot of those in my life, but the final light bulb went off when I realized that I had been substituting everything for self-love. And until I could find that way and journey to how to love myself, which I didn't have a clue, even though I'd done a lot of work on myself and was in recovery for many years, I really did not have a clue what that meant. So that took a real deep dive into self-exploration and kind of integrating so much that I had learned over the years and working on myself and working with others and kind of consolidated into those 7 paths.
Yeah. And that really is a powerful statement. We can so easily substitute other things for self-love. It can be difficult sometimes, can't it, to just let it all go and just love ourselves.
I don't think that people know how. I certainly didn't. We confuse it. We think that some form of indulgence. We love candy, we love chocolate, we love martinis, we love shopping, we love this, that, it never ends, But really what we love is the feeling that those things give us. And when we learn how to love ourselves, we learn to listen to the voice of love, which we all have within us, instead of the fear-based voice, which constantly is distracting us from that self-love. And we learn how to nurture ourselves emotionally, physically, spiritually. And it's not just like a one-shot deal. It's a daily practice. And I tell people it's kind of like if you had a brand new baby. We have a brand new baby in our family, and all the love and nurturing that baby's getting, no one's thinking twice about it. But for many of us, if we didn't get that, we don't know how to actually feed our soul and put healthy food in our bodies and have playtime and have God time and have that balance and really know how to totally be with ourselves and love ourselves in a very healthy way, not in a substitute way.
So would you say if we haven't had that or we don't know how to love ourselves, we can learn to do that? And what would you tell the audience right now, someone thinking, what could be a first step in loving myself? What would you suggest?
Well, I would tell you to imagine that you're a little person and someone's going to take care of you, and it's going to be you. And so from the moment you wake up in the morning, most children, if they're not troubled, they wake up happy. But if you're troubled, to address that sorrow or address those feelings, part of self-love is learning how to be comfortable with the fact that we're human beings and we do have feelings. And we can't feel good if we're harboring pain and suffering and sorrow and grief and anger. So one thing that healthy parents tell children is it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. Let's deal with that. And once we do that, then we are relieved of those burdensome emotions, and then we can get restored to our more natural state, which most of us really, are underneath all that pain. Most of us are happy. We just don't know it because we haven't ever been relieved of some of the suffering that we endure. So that's one thing. If you were the caretaker of a little child, you would teach them to eat healthy, eat regularly, and explain the difference between the good foods, the foods that are designed for your heart and your kidneys and your lungs and all that, that your body is sacred. It's a very special place. And I like to talk about when I'm working with kids, do you have a dog? Oh, yeah, I love my dog. But would you give your dog a cigarette or a glass of vodka? No, that kind of thing. So it's a matter of like really restoring yourself to that sacred place of how am I treating this body? And that body needs playtime. It needs sunshine. It needs walks. It needs to be in nature. And your soul needs things that make you feel connected, whether it's music or again, nature. I was talking to someone recently. She was saying when she's out on a boat, she feels at one with the universe, so that's her higher power. That's what restores her sense of connection. So in my book, I have a 77 plus ways to self-love. I actually had more than that, but we wanted to use that number because of the 7 paths. But there's a detailed outline in the appendix that lists all the ways. And it's very comprehensive. And it's not just about me. It's also about sharing and receiving love with others, doing favors for people, helping people, giving back, whether it's time or money or attention. So many people, I did a little survey on Facebook one time. So many people are so lonely that they said they wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for their pet or their cat or their grandchild. And that's really sad, because that's telling me that they need to love something. But that's not enough just to love one thing. There's people around you and situations and causes and needs around you all the time that need your love. And the more you share your love, the more you fulfilled you are, because then you realize it's in you, it's not out there. And when we share that love, we experience that joy of being love.
Oh, that is so true. And my gosh, I've always believed sharing a kind gesture, a compliment, a smile, you give and what you do for others, but you gain from that. You gain the feeling and the joy it gives yourself as well.
Yes, you rediscover who you are. So many of us don't realize that we are pure joy, we are love, we are all that we are looking for. So when we're sharing it, we are manifesting our true self.
Yes. Oh, I love that. In your book, you say, we are here to share and receive love, to play, and to contribute to our life's mission and purpose. That is beautiful, Donna. It's
Thank you.
so true. And
Thank
what's
you.
so exciting, I believe, is we all have our own little happiness triggers, and like the person you mentioned, her being on a boat. It can be looking at a sunset or listening to the birds. And we all have our own little happiness triggers. And how wonderful to give that to ourselves, huh?
It's really important. And some people say, well, I'm not spiritual at all, but I'll say, well, what makes you feel that way? What makes you feel connected? And that is spirituality. Love is spirituality. And if you believe in love and you believe in things that connect you to that inner love, that's spiritual enough for a beginning, for sure. And there's so many ways to connect, whether it's through art. Some people connect through music. Some people like to meditate. Some people get it through yoga. There's just an endless way to feel connected. But taking the time to do that is the key. We get so wrapped up in this other part of the mind that's fear-based, and it's like a wound up, one of those wound up toys, and it just never stops. And, from the moment you wake up in the morning, like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do today? What about this bill? What about that problem? What's he doing? What's she doing? Oh, I forgot this. I mean, it just never lets up. And so once we learn how to access that place of love or that voice of love, instead of that racket going on all the time, we can live a very peaceful and happy life, because we notice that voice going on, but we just don't watch that channel anymore. We just kind of say, no, that's not my friend. It's very noisy, and I'm not going to get rid of it, but I don't really have to listen to that channel either. I can just click over to the channel of, I'm safe, I have a lot to contribute, I'm going to enjoy my life, and that's why I'm here. And I don't need to be in that place of fear and anger and guilt and all that racket going on nonstop, like a hammer,
Yes.
hammering away at my peace of mind all the time. But we can train our minds where we want to place our attention, and it doesn't have to be there.
And making that simple choice can just make such a difference, can't it? And so would you say training your mind, if we focus on making that choice and staying away from the fear and the ego, that it's going to kind of turn into a habit. We'll tend to more be in that direction. Is that something we can accomplish?
Well, it's beyond a habit. It's a way of life. It's a way of life. And so it's not like a habit where you train yourself. You practice self-love. And the more you practice it, the more love that you are connected to. So it just becomes a way of life. And then when you're not comfortable, you have no tolerance for it. So you want to be able to address that right away, whatever's causing the discomfort.
Oh, how fantastic. That is just fantastic. Oh, and I loved a little something in the book. You shared giving money to someone, and then someone, because I've gotten this, someone saying, well, they may use it for something bad or whatever, but really what it is it's you having compassion or kindness or doing something for someone. Where they go with it is them. What's important is, would you say, us having kindness and compassion?
That's the most important thing in the world. And all this separation and we and they and them and all the categories of right and wrong and all of that, we are all here to love one another. And every spiritual message is about that. I don't know how we have gotten so lost. So I think you're talking about the example where someone came up to me on the street and asked me for money, and I gave her some money. And this guy comes up to me afterwards and says, you shouldn't give her money. You're teaching her to beg here in our downtown area. And at first I felt like I did something wrong, but immediately I knew I didn't do anything wrong, because I have been taught through my own spiritual process that, to have, I must give. And it's not my place to judge what she's doing with the money. The fact that on my part, it was a gesture of loving and caring about someone. And how does he know what she's going to do with it?
Yeah.
She probably was going to buy drugs, but she might remember beyond buying drugs that someone cared enough to try and help her. So that's my focus. And, I just told him, that's really not for me to judge what she's doing with the money. That if we care about one another, people won't have to beg for money.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that we don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
As someone who was divorced at age 18 with a child, working as a waitress, I know about what it takes to get out of the sewer, to get out of the debt and poverty. I understand that. And I'm not suggesting that we just hand things over to people. But people are desperate at times and do need help. And when we care about one another, then we can help people to learn how to help themselves. Yeah. That's one of the beautiful things about 12-step programs and churches and different places that do offer places where people can get better. I'm not suggesting that someone just say, here's a degree or here's money, and now you don't have to do anything with your life. That would be robbing someone of their process and their journey and their purpose. I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't struggled my way through what I've accomplished. And I'm all about that. But at the same time, there is need around me all the time. And when I'm guided to share, whether it's time or energy or services or whatever, money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Being on shows, I am delighted to do it because I get more out of it than anybody else.
Yeah. And, you can share information, inspiration with so many. And, we don't know who's listening, who's watching, but, something that you share may really trigger something, to help them. And something else in your book that I just loved, every misfortune presents two different paths: living in fear or an opportunity for emotional, spiritual, and financial growth. That's just so true, so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes when I'm writing, it's just coming to me. I don't always remember things. So I appreciate you sharing that with the audience. And it's true. Like, if I would have gotten everything I wanted, I would not have what I have. And what I mean by that is sometimes it hurts, when it hurts when we get betrayed or we get ripped off or someone lies or cheats or steals. It hurts. And I do think that people should be held accountable for that. I'm not saying that, just la, 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 but at the same time, in those moments of pain and hurt, there is the golden opportunities. What can I do with this? How can I turn this mess that I might have even co-hosted and even prolonged? How can I turn this into personal growth? How can I better myself and make a contribution to mankind out of this experience?
Oh, beautiful, Donna, beautiful. Share with the audience a little bit about the 7 paths that you discuss in your book.
Well, I'll refer to my table of contents here, but the first one is, learning how to listen to the voice of love. So many people have gotten turned off to religion because they've witnessed people who are supposed to be religious and they're unhealed healers. And, that's one of the things I mentioned earlier. It's so important for healers to actually be healed. I had the great gift of meeting with someone earlier who's on a similar path, and he's also written 2 books. I mentioned him in the, I'm not going to tell you who he is because I want people to get the book, but I mentioned him in the conclusion. I tell his story because he actually did these 7 paths. This book wasn't written when he did those 7 paths, but those of us that are on these spiritual journeys, we have these similar paths that we go on. But the first path is listening to that voice of love. We have the fear and we have the love voice. And I think I kind of covered that earlier. And it's not out there. Religion can help us to connect to the inner voice, but it's not the inner voice. I believe we all have a part of God within us. And it is that part of love and the spiritual part. And so by learning to, we're trying to change so many things. That's another one of the chapters, like the most important person you will ever control is yourself. We spend so much time trying to control other people and other things rather than saying, this is like it's supposed to be, and I might be able to make a contribution here, and I'm willing to try. I have had to learn this with my patients. If they don't want to do the work to get what they want, I can't make them do that. I can inspire them. I can say, I don't want to work with you if you're not really all in, but I can't make anyone do anything. I can't make my kids do anything. I can't make my spouse, but we spend so much energy like internalizing all that. And what I'm saying here is whatever reactions you have to any situation, control yourself, find the meaning in it, find the growth in it, find the opportunity in it. So that's another whole chapter that's the second path. You're the most important person you will ever control. Then when I talk about trust, so many people are so afraid. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust a process. They don't trust other people. And what I'm saying is you can trust yourself. And the more you listen to that inner voice of love, the more you will recognize that no matter what happens to you. I mean, I've been through so many things in my life, but if I trust that those things can all be turned into something good and that I'm going to be okay no matter what, and I'm honest and I can trust me, then I don't really have to worry so much about what everybody else is doing. And when I take care of myself and I trust myself, then I also can find that voice that will lead me on the right paths and situations. Then I also talk about forgiveness, respect, abundance, and then finally the 7th path, which is self-love. And we covered that at the beginning. I had no idea what that meant. I do now. I'm the most important person I will ever love, and I can never be loved more than I love myself, and I can never love you more than I love myself. That's the real powerful message in that. So I must learn how to do that before I have anything to offer anybody.
That is powerful. That is powerful. And you've talked about turning messes into miracles. I mean, that can happen. We can do that, can't we?
Well, it happens all the time. And, probably the best spiritual advice I ever got was in recovery meetings. And they taught, you're talking about people who have lost everything, who've hit rock bottom. I was fortunate not to do that when I wound up there. I was able to, have the advantage of learning a lot and knowing things and experiencing a lot in my own childhood. So I had some advantages that I did not have to just wind up homeless. But so many people have lost so much and the pain and suffering that even those of us, who haven't lost everything, it can be turned into the miracle of not doing it anymore, even though there might have been a compulsion to do self-destructive behavior. Once we learn how to love ourselves, we don't have to do it anymore. And we can use those experiences to help other people. That is definitely making a miracle out of a big fat mess.
Yes. And those miracles happen every day, don't they?
They happen all the time, every moment of every day. But we just get so channeled into that other voice that I talk about that we're not receiving it. We're not receptive to it. We're not perceiving it that way.
Yeah. But we can tune into that voice, can't we?
Yes. You choose which channel you want to watch.
I love that. I have my remote. I'm going to choose my channel.
Yes.
Well, share with us your website and any information for someone that might want to learn more about you, work with you, what would you like?
Well, my website is www.drmarks.com. And there's just a ton of stuff on there for people to read. There's meditations, there's free things, and there's also a subscription available for people who want to join a monthly meeting or hear our monthly radio show where they can call in and ask questions. We'll have the monthly webinar where people can come and join in group conversation, which will be a lot of fun. It's kind of asking the same kind of questions you asked, I'm hoping that people who feel like they need some help will take advantage of that opportunity. And then we also have, I've been on hundreds of podcasts, TV shows, radio, so they can tune into those and listen to those. I get so much positive feedback, and they can also order my books directly off of that webpage, but they're also available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Simon Schuster. And I just would love for people to get this information. There's a lot of information in my books. It's a lifetime of experiences, personally and professionally, that I've learned, that I try to kind of package up in a way that can really help somebody. People don't have to get therapy. The people that come see me now, I just have a concierge practice. I just work with a very few people at a time. They hire me for a month at a time. But people that can't afford that, they can get what they need through self-help. And there's so much free help available through different kinds of groups and books. So I just want to encourage your listeners that you're here for a reason. You're not here to take care of your cat only. You're not here to just count the days on the calendar. You're not here to suffer. You're not here to be physically impaired. You're here to share and receive love. You have a mission. You have a purpose. And once you tap into that, you're going to find out how exciting life is. I wake up every morning excited, like, what are we doing today? And I go to sleep at night peaceful. I wasn't always that way. I had a very dark moments in my life and suffered with a lot of depression and fears and addictions. And that is all gone now. And if I can do it, believe me, anybody can do it, because I had those two parts of me at battle for quite a while. Not anymore. But I just want your listeners and viewers to just appreciate who they are. They are here for a reason. And there is a beautiful soul in there. And embrace it and allow it to embrace you. And allow yourself to be happy. Allow yourself to fulfill your mission and your purpose.
Donna, just, oh, beautiful message. Beautiful message. I had a lot of challenges, and we can get through that, and what you have out there and the support, that's huge. That's huge when we're going through challenges, to know that we're supported and we're cared about. And
it's important to get the support.
Oh, yes. Oh, I absolutely love that. Oh, you're just a helper for so many. I'm really grateful. Well, before we say goodbye, give everyone a little bit about your first book, what they can kind of expect with ordering that.
Well, my first, they're all available on my webpage and on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but the first book was called Learn, Grow, Forgive, A Path to Spiritual Success. And so many people, you hear, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and that's insanity. But I believe that sometimes, and Freud talked about this, he called it repetition compulsion. We're unconsciously trying to fix something in our past. And if we can change our perception from being complete failures and idiots, like I used to think of myself when I kept trying to make relationships work that were impossible, they're there for a reason. And what I can do is say, I can learn and grow. Even though I might be doing it again, what am I still needing to learn here? There's still something here. There's still growth for me here. And once I achieve that, then the relationship will just naturally transition into a different form, rather than, hatred and resentment. It will transition to one of a different kind of relationship, one with a different kind of love.